Missing 4 hours and ended up on military base. About 20 years ago, my best friend and myself went to Ridgecrest, CA for a party. The party ended up being a 50th wedding anniversary and we were improperly dressed for it. We ate at the banquet hall, left to the home of my friend's cousin. We left a short time later, headed back to Bakersfield. I was sitting in the driver's seat, she was in the passenger seat, and we began to enter the freeway on-ramp. That was the last memory either of us had until 4 hours later. I kind of woke up but I didn't feel like I was sleeping. I more or less became aware of our surroundings and that I was in the passenger seat. I looked over at my friend and her eyes were staring into the dark distance. Quickly I realized we had somehow ended up on a dirt road. I yelled her name, she kind of snapped back to reality. There was a chain-link fence along the driver's side of the car with barbed wire on top. The road was graded but the surrounding field was not. For some reason we were going 30 or 40 miles per hour down this dirt road and we start freaking out. Almost immediately we drove right up to a white sign about 20 by 30. It had large red and black letters. The top portion read warning. The bottom active landmine field. I screamed for us to turn around and my friend hit a U-turn in the dirt as we both screamed at the top of our lungs. By this point we are both in a full panic. We have no idea where we are, how this happened, where we are going, but we are moving. She's driving 50 to 60 miles per hour in the Tahoe headed the opposite direction. We traveled maybe 2 minutes max. Suddenly we see lights from every direction approaching just as fast as we are running, if not faster. When they got within 100 yards or so they turned on their sirens and we realized it was the police. Military police. We have somehow ended up deep inside of a military base. Came driving through ungraded desert to stop us. We were removed from the vehicle, two 20-something girls in party clothes sobbing. The MPS asked us how we got there. They asked what gate we had come in. They kept us in the desert for hours. My friend was put into the back of an MP car for a good portion of it while I sat in the dirt leaned against the fence. They ran our names, discovered my friend had someone write a bad on her account a few counties away and nothing else. We were questioned and finally after 4 hours we were released. They escorted us out of a gate. We realized we were now on the north side of the city when we had left originally from her cousins on the south side of Ridgecrest. We went home, told maybe 5 or 6 people who all either assumed we were crazy or lying. We stopped telling it until recently I told my fiancé. Then I made a TikTok which way more people watched than I expected and here I am. We were not on any type of psychedelic drugs. We both share the same memory including the time lapse. If I was alone in the car I would have thought it was a dream. It was the scariest experience. I died last night. But I'm still here, so this actually happened last week. It just took me some time to come to terms with it. I got a phone call from my next door neighbor late in the evening asking if I can help him move a mattress into his upstairs. His mom is ill and has a big heavy sleep number bed. I of course ran over to help because they're great neighbors. I get over there and his friend, who is also a priest, was there to help. I helped them figure out how to separate the mattress from the bed so we could fit it upstairs. We get it all moved up and back in place when my neighbor asks if I can help them move an armoire upstairs too. I think nothing of it and we pull it out of his travel trailer and start bringing it up the front stairs of his house. This is where I died. The front stairs are 11 steps. I was on the lower end of the armoire about 6 steps up when my neighbor and his friend lose a handle on the armoire and it comes crashing down on me and I fall backwards towards the pavement. I then wake up in my dining room to my phone ringing and my wife asking me if I'm going to answer the phone. It's my neighbor asking me if I can help move a bed upstairs for his mom. I go over there and meet his priest friend again, as this has been the first time I met him. I say I can help with the bed but I cannot help with the armoire. My neighbor was like, how'd you know about the armoire? I then proceeded to tell them I'm pretty sure I just died. I spent the next hour talking with the priest. He had so many questions. My neighbor didn't believe it until I described the upstairs bedroom in perfect detail down to the metal mattress frame on the floor and the intricate headboard leaning against the wall, and I had never been upstairs in their house before. The priest asked me what I saw after I died. I told him I never actually died. Before it happened I woke up at my dining room table. Today I fucked up by saving a topless woman from drowning. My family, wife, kids and in-laws, and I had just returned from a pontoon cruise for the evening. It was later than usual so I sent the wife up on the golf cart with the kids and in-laws to get them some dinner while I covered up the boat. About halfway through covering up the boat, I noticed someone halfway across the cove in the water all on their own and she appeared to maybe be in distress. She wasn't making progress swimming one way or the other and occasionally going underwater. There were people on the opposite shoreline yelling at her, but I couldn't tell what they were saying. I yell asking if she needs help and she says yes. I call my wife and tell her to come down on the cart. Someone is in the water and needs help. I'm going in. I might need help getting the person out. I put on a life jacket and grab the throw cushion from the boat. I swim out to the person and pass off the throw cushion. She appears out of breath. First thing she says to me is I'm topless. I respond with I'm okay, but are you okay? I also immediately think to myself, 1. My friends are never going to believe this. 2. What is my wife going to think with a topless woman swimming to shore with me? She then says she's running from her boyfriend who is messed up. She also asks if it's shallow enough to touch it. It wasn't going to be. I help her to the dock where my wife meets us. She tells my wife I'm sorry but I don't have a shirt on. Again my wife just asks if she's okay and she tells us the boyfriend's story again. Sure enough, as she gets out of the water she is topless. But she is carrying a white t-shirt that she quickly throws on. She then immediately begins running to shore. At the same time we notice a pontoon cruising towards our dock yelling at us. At first I think this must be her boyfriend chasing her and we are in the middle of some domestic dispute. They quickly get closer and I realize it's 2 sheriff deputies who flagged a pontoon down to carry them across the lake. As they are jumping onto the dock we notice the girl had just jumped into her golf cart and was riding away on it. Apparently she was allegedly involved in a string of burglaries and the boyfriend she was running away from was the cops. I had unknowingly aided her swim across the lake to escape and she used our golf cart as getaway. The cops chased her for a while through the night, tracking her down once more, but she escaped again. We looked all day for the golf cart today with no luck. I notified insurance of the theft around lunch. About an hour ago someone notified us through social media that it was parked behind a house in a neighborhood over. So we recovered the cart and it seems okay. They put more warrants out for the suspect and are still looking for her. DLDR. Am I the asshole for breaking my promise to my stepkids, and abandoning and traumatizing them because I did not want to parent them anymore? I met Will when I was 22. Will was 29, with 2 kids, and had newly been widowed. We had whirlwind courtship where he introduced me to the kids and got me involved in their lives very early. First few days after I met him, Will said really quickly he was sure I was the one, not only for himself but also for his kids. That we'd have an incredible, happy family life. We got married when I was 23, Will was 30, and his kids were 8 and 6. Our wedding ceremony also included me and the kids making promises to each other, which was Will's idea. Soon Will shoved all the childcare onto me. I wasn't a stay-at-home spouse, I worked full-time and always have. But he always had reasons for me to do the childcare, him being sore from doing a physical job, me being better at it since I babysat kids this age in the past and he never had. Or girl stuff for his daughter. Or cooking or anything. He always had some reason and it ended up always on me. He started playing video games and relaxing from getting home until bed, because he was tired and he was bringing in the money and keeping the roof over everyone's heads, though that wasn't really true. He said he deserved to relax. Then he went out with his friends or brought them back to drink beer and watch loud TV. He developed a major attitude with me, and encouraged same in the kids. They found it funny. He started openly disrespecting me and encouraged them to also. He was the ultimate fun dad and I got put in the role of the mean witch. Sometimes they all ganged up on me and mocked me. But also all expected me to serve them and constantly be jumping up to care for them. By the end of the first year I realized the marriage was a big mistake, but felt guilty leaving because of my promises to the kids. Another year went by and I realized that no matter how I tried, and how I knew they were only kids and I didn't really blame them, I genuinely hated both of the kids. And I could not lie to myself anymore and pretend that I loved them. I did not, and I never would. One day I just walked out, packed up everything of mine and moved out while nobody was at home. I left a note explaining it wasn't working and saying goodbye. That was the end. Cue shitstorm from my ex and a bitter divorce, but we both walked away with what we went into the marriage with, not much for either of us. I had never legally adopted the kids so I had no rights or responsibilities about them and I never reached out to any of them again. Honestly I was overjoyed to be rid of all of them. 15 years have gone by and that seems like a lifetime ago, or another person's life, but I'm still in my 30s. I was recently shocked to get a message from Tamara, Will's daughter, now 25. Tamara said I betrayed and traumatized her for life for abandoning them after my promises to them. She said I had a responsibility to never leave no matter what. I know she remembers the horrible way she treated me though. Today I fucked up. I accidentally revealed my boyfriend's mom's infidelity. Obligatory. This story actually happened about a year ago. I, 18F at the time, was dating a boy named Jacob, 18M at the time. His father, early 60s, was a mechanic, and his mom, mid 50s, was a som. They were a pretty typical white suburban family in the South and had asked Jacob if they could meet me even though we had only been dating for a month. At the dinner, I met his mom, dad, older brother, older sister, and her newborn daughter. The dinner went well and I was chatting about my volunteer work at my college's blood drive, to which his father explains that his doctor told him he was O negative and a universal blood donor. My boyfriend mentions he is also O, but his siblings casually mention they are both AB. I don't think anything of it because my BF had mentioned that his mom was married once before and was widowed. The following conversation went like this: me, oh that's really cool. You're a really rare blood type. If you don't mind me asking, is your mom's blood type A and your dad's B or your dad's A and mom's B? Us, older sister, what do you mean? He's O. Gesturing to my BF's father me, oh I know. I was just asking about your bio father, but of course, you don't have to answer if you don't want to. I notice his mom get really pale, and it was in that moment I realized I fucked up. OB, older brother, what do you mean bio father? Me, I'm sorry. I didn't mean anything by it. Jacob's dad got real quiet and looking at his wife's face. He knew instantly. I look over to Jacob who I think was starting to put the full picture of what was happening together. Jacob's dad, are you saying they're not my biological kids? Because my wife swore up and down in marriage counseling, by marriage counseling they mean with a pastor, that they were my kids and she would never cheat on me. Yeah. Turns out she never had any kids from her previous marriage. Jacob's mom, I would never cheat on you. Os and Obi are your kids. Jacob's dad, why do you think they're not my kids? I tried to excuse myself because it was very clear the cat was out of the bag, and with a quick Google search from my boyfriend he starts cussing out his mom. She starts to sob and apologizes over and over again. And I am forced to explain 9th grade biology to his father about the fact that the only kids he could have produced were with the blood type O, A or B, but absolutely not AB. Jacob was the only one with the possibility of being his son. What was the best you have no power here moment you have ever seen? I used to work for a super cunty manager when I worked at McDonald's. This guy was horrible to us. He was constantly bullying us, shit-talking us to customers, and doing everything in his power to make us miserable. Well, so many people complained about him that he ended up getting fired. New manager was great. He was super chill and understanding with us all. A couple weeks after he took over, the old douchebag comes in and starts talking about how terrible the store looks, how our service is shittier than ever, and how much this store needs him. The new manager looked at him and said if you don't leave, then the cops are gonna make you. When the douchebag didn't move, new awesome manager stuck to his guns and called the cops. The douchebag is no longer allowed on any McDonald's property in the city and has a restraining order against him. Am I the asshole for making my husband miss seeing his mom for the first time in over a year, on her birthday? Last night was my 21 mother-in-law's birthday. She's 65 and healthy, but my husband, 23, hasn't seen her since the beginning of the pandemic. This is important to know. I'm 34 weeks pregnant and also healthy. But, last night I was feeling particularly emotional and physically in pain from working. I'm WFH until my due date, but my boss made me go in to make copies and that turned into a half-day event. By the time I got home, I was exhausted and in need of a massage. My husband was on his way out to his mom's dinner and he was expecting me to meet him there. He was disappointed when I told him I wasn't going to go, but he understood. However, when I asked him to stay back for a half hour to give me a massage he got upset that I'd make him late and in turn piss off his mom, on the day he's seeing her again for the first time since pre-pandemic. So I suggested I get a massage from our mutual friend, my best friend's boyfriend, who is a massage therapist in training, but there's a tiny bit of history between us so my husband didn't like that either. So to quicken the recount, we argued, he ended up being late, and after his mom called in he blamed me for his being late which resulted in me getting lectured by his mom. I told him to stay home and take care of me or he'd have to start paying his own phone bill. I pay his. He did it but then slept on the couch that night. Didn't speak to me at all today. And tonight when I returned from making more copies at the office he'd claimed the bedroom, leaving my stuff for sleeping on the couch. About an hour before writing this, my sister-in-law, 30s, called and yelled at me for not letting my husband go to the dinner. He'll be able to see his family including his mom whenever now that she's vaccinated, but he missed out on the family reunion experience of the dinner. But I literally just needed some TLC. So, am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for canceling my niece's college fund upon discovering what she's been doing to me and my wife for months? My wife and I struggled with infertility for years. We're still trying more options, but we're beginning to lose hope. I have a 16-year-old niece that is like a daughter and a friend to me. Considering I'm doing well financially, I've decided to take care of her education and start college funds so she could attend a college of her choice. My brother and his wife, my niece's stepmom, are of course aware of that and they appreciate it very much. They always talk about what a generous, loving uncle I am, unlike my younger brother. I've been dealing with a series of unusual, unexplainable events like receiving texts at work from someone pretending to be my wife informing me of some big news like her being pregnant. Or finding mysterious envelopes in my car when I'm at my parents' and the envelopes contained letters from someone also pretending to be my wife and again telling me she was pregnant. My wife and I had no idea who's been playing us like that. We knew it was someone close and had many that made our suspect list, including my bill. Last week I was visiting my brother's house and my car was parked in their driveway. I was sitting with my brother and Sil, but my niece left for a few minutes then returned. I finished my coffee and said goodbye and left. While I was approaching my car I noticed a sign on the windshield. I took a look and the sign read "I'm pregnant" written largely. I was confused because I knew no one from this neighborhood and suspected someone who knew me did it. I called my wife and she again said this was false news. I took the sign and went back to my brother's house to help figure this out. He said someone must have left it on the wrong car, but I explained it happened before. He just shrugged but still pointed at the sign and said the writing looked similar to my niece's writing style. My brother told her to stop, but I called my niece to come downstairs and asked her. She denied but got nervous and admitted leaving the sign on my windshield as well as sending/leaving letters and texts pretending to be my wife. But didn't have ill intent, just did it for laughs. I blew up telling her she was out of line to think mocking mine and my wife's suffering and playing us was for months was funny. I said I was mad, I was disappointed and won't ever be looking at her the same. I informed her, my brother and Sil that I officially cancel the college fund I started for her due to her cruelty and disrespect for us. She broke down saying she meant no harm or disrespect and was just messing with/teasing me. My brother said I can't actually make this decision based on small mistake my niece made. He said this is her future that I was giving up on and my decision will have a lasting impact. I cut the conversation and left after he tried to talk me out of giving her this harsh punishment. But to me this was no punishment, just realizing she didn't deserve my hard-earned money. Brother said I exaggerated. Am I the asshole for telling my extended family how many men, roughly, my sister has slept with after she outed our youngest brother as a virgin? We had a family dinner this evening. My family has 4 kids in total, me, my elder sister, 29F, younger sister, 24F, and youngest brother, 22M. Extended family attended our family dinner. So all of our significant others, our cousins, aunts and uncles etc. During the dinner my elder sister and youngest brother got into a mild disagreement. My sister seemed, at least to me, to be coming across as very aggressive out of frustration and losing said argument. The two of them were too absorbed in their argument to realize the rest of us were getting a bit fed up. Eventually my sister got really fed up and said, "Shut up, I'm not going to argue with a 22-year-old virgin." My brother hadn't done any personal attacks up until that point, it was completely unprovoked. I think it might have been the alcohol as my sister is a mean drunk. Anyway, I immediately told my sister to grow up and that she was making an embarrassment of herself. She replied by saying everyone knows he's a virgin and she didn't say anything wrong. This annoyed me as my bro definitely has confidence issues and doesn't need to be made fun of like this. So I responded by saying how she slept with well over 100 men while she was in college, and that since everyone in the family knows this it's not a big deal, right? Turns out her husband didn't know this. Amazingly, I genuinely assumed he must have known. He left the party angrily saying my sister misled him about her past. Family is blaming me for their marital problems. I refuse to accept I did anything wrong. My sister bullied my brother in front of everyone. All I did was give her a taste of her own medicine. Am I the asshole for telling my wife's friend she is too old and ugly after she repeatedly asked my 19-year-old son to take off his shirt? He was getting uncomfortable. My family had a small get-together at my house. One of my wife's friends was over. She is unmarried. I think she is 45 to 47. We aren't too close to her since she lives pretty far away. She was over our house and she started complimenting my son. My son is 19. It starts off innocent but as time goes on it gets more and more crossing the line. When we were out on my deck she starts telling my son to take his shirt off. What's the point of going to the gym if no one will see it? My son is visibly uncomfortable and tries to shut her down. She repeatedly is asking and is getting more aggressive with it. I interject and I'm like, hey Kathy, I think you are a bit too old and ugly for my son. This got her upset really quickly, and she excuses herself to the bathroom and starts crying. My wife goes to comfort her, and then later she leaves. At the end of it my wife is super angry with me for saying that I should have said, hey Kathy, looks like you had too much to drink or something else. I told my wife that Kathy, BTW, this is not her real name, works a corporate job, she has had training on this and that she knows better. And our son was uncomfortable. He is 18 plus but he doesn't know how to deal with an adult let alone someone saying that in our house. I told my wife flat out that if I was to invite a guy friend and he was to ask to see our daughter in a bikini, my wife would have called the police. She says it's different. I tell her that I was way kinder to Kathy than I would have been had a guy said something like that to her daughter. And I told my wife that Kathy needs to apologize to my son before she can ever come into her house again. Overall, I think I was fair. If Kathy just said it once and I said that, I think I would be the asshole, but the fact she kept repeating it, that's why I said it. And I wanted her to get the message that yes, I am upset, that's why I included the ugly part.